طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. ما بعد, we have gone halfway in the exploring of Surah al-Mursalaat last week, and what we, just as a quick overview so that we know where we are, the surah started off with some oaths, and we said that scholars of tafsir, they generally speaking understood these oaths to mean the wind and the angels. And there's a bit of discussion which ones are exactly to do with the winds and which ones are exactly to do with the angels. And then we spoke about what is the benefit of talking about winds and angels. And we spoke about how, these are the life for the ground and the life for the hearts, or they are the cause of the life in the ground and life of the hearts. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started talking about the day of judgment, and he started talking about some of his signs. And he this surah would repeat this term, Waylun yawma idhil mukaththibin, woe to the deniers, woe to the deniers. And we spoke about different things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala highlights in the surah as an evidence as to say, how can you still deny? Woe to you people who you're denying. You're denying all these evidences that Allah Jalla wa Ala gives. We reached up until انطلقوا إلى ما كنتم به تكذبون. So what we'll do, inshallah ta'ala, we'll recite a few verses and then we'll explore the rest of the surah today, بإذن الله ta'ala. Allah Jalla wa Ala, He says in the Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم انطلقوا إلى ما كنتم به تكذبون انطلقوا إلى ظل ذي 3 شعب لا ظليل ولا يغني من اللهب إنها ترمي بشرر كالقصر كأنه جمالة صفر ويل يومئذ للمكذبين هذا يوم لا ينطقون ولا يؤذن لهم فيعتذرون ويل يومئذ للمكذبين. Khair. SubhanAllah, a lot of these ayat that we'll be discussing today doesn't actually require much commentary. It's pretty self-explanatory. Nevertheless, it's good to go through them, and sometimes even just reading a good English translation is beneficial. But still, I will mention some comments here and there. So Allah Jalla wa Ala, He says, انطلقوا إلى ما كنتم به تكذبون. This is being said to the believers. Proceed, انطلقوا, into that what you used to deny. So, of course, this verse is built upon this woe to those who deny, woe to those who deny. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala jumps to this scene when it's going to be said to them, to these people, go on to that which that thing that you used to keep denying in this world, off you go. انطلقوا. Off you go to that thing that you used to deny in this world. Again, انطلقوا, off you go. إلى ظل ذي 3 شعب, to a shade, ظل, and this concept of shade is going to be recognized in this surah. This shade, the 3 شعب, which you could say rises in 3 columns, if you like. What's being referred to here is the shade of smoke. And it said the thalath, that it has 3 columns. Why was the number 3 used? Because if you think about smoke, there's 3 directions that it can go in. It can either go right, or the smoke can go left, or the smoke can go up. So these are the 3 directions that the smoke can go into, and it's saying proceed into this, it's this shade. But the reality is, it's not a real shade. لا ظليل ولا يغني من اللهب. It's not a proper shade. It provides nice, because at the end of the day, you have to think about it with Arabs. What does the shade provide for the Arabs? Or just generally speaking, what does the shade provide? It provides coolness and it provides shelter, right? That's what a shade does. It's coolness and shelter. And of course, in blazing heat, people go underneath the shade for cover, as a coolness. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes this shade, the shade of Jahannam, la dhalilin. It does not provide any coolness. وَلَا يُغْنِي مِنَ اللَّهَبِ, and it does not provide any shelter from the flames. It doesn't give the benefits of what a normal shade does. It's almost like, a mockery of the disbelievers. Off you go into that shade. This shade has no benefit for you. It does not provide any benefit what a normal shade does. لا ظليل ولا يغني من اللهب إنها ترمي بشرر كالقصر. Referring to Jahannam, indeed it hurls sparks. And then the sparks are given the metaphor kal qasr. They are like castles, i.e., and some of the scholars say, how are they like castles in terms of how great they are? That's how great. These are just the sparks of Jahannam, and so it's likened like a qasr, and then it has another metaphor. كأنه جمالة صفر. جمالة is according to many of the scholars of tafsir, is the plural of jamal, is the plural of camels. So it's like camels, sufur. Sufur in the Arabic language, normally speaking, refers to yellow. However, sometimes this word yellow can be referred to in terms of like an off black, and this is something that especially was used with regards to camels. When they would say a yellow camel, what they mean is like an extremely dark camel, basically like a black camel with almost like a tinge of yellow. So this is how the Arabs would describe this type of camel. Some of the scholars did actually say that it's referring to yellow, but many of them said actually what's being referred to is almost like a black tinged yellow. So this Jahannam is being referred to, or these sparks are being referred to as as massive, and like this darkness in terms of these black camels. So two different metaphors: the size, and also another thing that we can think in terms of camels, because when the Arabs are thinking of camels, they're thinking of herd of camels. So also another metaphor that's being alluded to in terms of these sparks is the number and how they're all moving around. These sparks are all moving around, just like a herd of camels. Notice how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He uses metaphors that the Arabs know. Of course, they know, that camels is something that they see on a regular basis. So Allah Jalla wa Ala, of course, إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ قُرْآنًا عَرَبِيًّا. Allah Jalla wa Ala, He sent the Quran as an Arabic Quran. So He gave metaphors in terms of what the Arabs knew. We can also take like a da'wah benefit from this, is that when we're speaking to people, obviously we need to give metaphors that they understand as well. So one has to think about what are the metaphors that my audience is going to understand. Allah Jalla wa Ala is giving the metaphors of these camels when He's referring to these sparks. Again, this verse that we've often seen in the surah, وَيْلٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ لِلْمُكَذِّبِينَ. Woe on that day to the deniers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has talked about how scary this Jahannam is. Woe to the people who deny. وَيْلٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ لِلْمُكَذِّبِينَ. هَذَا يَوْمُ لَا يَنطِقُونَ. On that day, they will not be in a position to speak. They will not be in a position to speak. They're not going to have an open opportunity to just say whatever they want on that day and talk their way out of things. Some of the scholars they talk about how there might be an apparent contradiction, because there's other ayat in the Quran that seem to suggest that the disbelievers will be saying things. So how do we combine between this and this ayah? How do you combine between some of the ayah that seem to suggest that the disbelievers will be saying things on the day of judgment, and this ayah here where it says هَذَا يَوْمُ لَا يَنْطِقُونَ, and that they will not be in a position to speak? There's many different ways of combining between these two verses. One that many of the scholars speak about is that this day, the day of judgment, is not it's like 50,000 sana. It's like 50,000 years. It's not one station. There's many different stations on Yawm al-Qiyamah. So what's being referred to here is that in some of the stations, for example, they're not going to have a position to speak. Or what could be mentioned here is that they're not going to have a position to speak unless, apart from, except only when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them the permission to speak, essentially. Or it could just be there'll be some stations where they are going to be dishonored in the sense that they're not allowed to speak at all. Or they don't have any free ability to speak. And of course, we know from the hadith of Prophet ﷺ that their limbs will testify against them. Their limbs will be testifying against them. هذا يوم لا ينطقون ولا يؤذن لهم فيعتذرون. Nor were they permitted to offer excuses. Yeah. So they can't speak, and they can't bring out some excuses in terms of this day. خلاص, the excuses and the arguments, the evidence, it's over now. The judgment has come. Again, وَيْلٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ لِلْمُكَذِّبِينَ. This is a scary surah. This is a scary surah, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps doing this woe. Woe to those people that deny. Woe to those people that deny. We're seeing this theme, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps talking about, woe to these people that deny. How can you still deny? How can you still deny Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Again, he talks about the day of judgment. هذا يوم الفصل جمعناكم الأولين. This is the day of fasl. We've spoken about this يوم الفصل before. جمعناكم الأولين. We have gathered you. جمعناكم. We have gathered you along with the early disbelievers. Because this is being directed to the disbelievers. You're going to be gathered, and all the early disbelievers are going to be gathered, i.e., the people who rejected Nuh, and the people that denied, Lut, and the people that denied Salih, and the people that denied all these prophets before. All these people who are going to deny are going to be gathered. جمعناكم والأولين فإن كان لكم كيد فكيدون. So if you've got a scheme to save yourselves, then save yourselves. And this is of course, what's the word I'm looking for in English? It's of course, you could say almost like sarcasm, because of course there is no plot. What on earth are you going to do? But if you have a scheme to save yourselves, then save yourselves. And this is just like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you can bring something forth like the Quran, then bring it. And of course, no one can bring anything like the Quran, and no one can save themselves. No one's going to hatch a great master plan how you're going to get out of this on Yawm al-Qiyamah. There is no plan that you can do to get out of this. Waylun yawma idhil mukaththibin. Again, woe to those people that deny. This surah has definitely had a massive theme with regards to focusing on the disbelievers in this surah. But often, as is the vast majority of time, when disbelievers are mentioned, then it's contrasted with those people who believe. Indeed, the righteous will be in shade. Remember how we've spoken about shade? So look at the contrast. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about the shade of the disbelievers in Jahannam. لا ظليل ولا يغني من اللهب هي إن المتقين في ظلال وعيون. This is a cool shade, though. This is a cool shade. And of course, we know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, in terms of the people who will be under the shade on Yawm al-Qiyamah. But the righteous, the believers, those who didn't deny, those who accepted the message of Allah, they will be fi dhilalin wa uyun. They will be in you could say, a cool shade. A cool shade, and uyun, and springs. وَفَوَاكِهَ مِمَّا يَشْتَهُونَ. And any fruit that they desire. كُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا هَنِيئًا بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. They will be told, eat and drink, هَنِيئًا, enjoy yourself. بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. Because of what you used to do. Because of what you used to do. A reward because of what you used to do. Now sit back and enjoy yourselves. In terms of whatever fruits that you want, whatever foods that you want, drink, eat and drink and enjoy yourselves. إِنَّا كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Surely this is how we reward the good doers. Allahumma ij'alna minhum ya Rabb. وَيْلٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ لِلْمُكَذِّبِينَ. But woe on that day to those people that deny. Woe to the people that are going to deny. So now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, first of all, that there's a woe in terms of the punishment that they're going to get, and then a woe in terms of you're not going to get these blessings. You're not going to get these blessings. Notice how before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about the believers when talking about the fruits and saying, eat and drink and enjoy yourselves. Now Allah directs himself, now the speech is directed towards the disbelievers. They're also told, eat. كُلُوا وَتَمَتَّعُوا قَلِيلًا إِنَّكُمْ مُجْرِمُونَ. Eat and enjoy yourselves for a little while, for you are truly wicked. Look at the comparison that, as if to say, in this dunya, go off and enjoy yourself then. You kick it, YOLO. You're only going to live once. Go out and don't care and just try and hit life to the max. It's very small. Qadina, just for this short amount of life. Look at the difference between how you can sit back and have a true enjoyment in terms of the hereafter, or you can be greedy and want to have all the reward right now. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala almost sarcastically says to the disbelievers, go on, eat and enjoy yourselves for a little while. إِنَّكُمْ مُجْرِمُونَ. You are truly wicked. You are truly wicked. وَيْلٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ لِلْمُكَذِّبِينَ. Woe on that day to the deniers, to those people that deny. وإذا قيل لهم اركعوا لا يركعون. You know, imagine that this is a description of the people who deny. When it is said to them, bow down before Allah, arka'u, they do not bow down. And of course, al-ruku' is one of the pillars of salah. And sometimes something is characterized by one of its pillars. Like sometimes salah is وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ those who prostrate. And of course, prostrating means that you're praying. And one of the descriptions of these people who deny, one of these people who descriptions of these people who reject Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is it's when they're told to pray, they don't pray. When they're told to pray, they don't pray. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ ارْكَعُوا لَا يَرْكَعُونَ. Showing us the importance of salah. Showing us the importance of salah. And of course, this might be a good place to say, of course, salah is the most important pillar. And out of all of the actions, it is the most important action. So much so that the scholars of Islam, they differed in terms of the person that leaves salah, is he even a Muslim or not? Based upon the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, al-ahdu alladhi baynana wa baynahum as-salah, the distinguishing feature between us and them, i.e. the disbelievers, is the prayer. And this is why there's a difference of opinion between the scholars in terms of the person that leaves the salah, is he a disbeliever? And you don't see this difference of opinion in terms of the other sins. The scholars don't say the person that eats pork, is he a believer or a disbeliever? La, he's a believer, he's sinful. The person that, does zina, is he a believer or disbeliever? La, he's a believer, but he's sinful. But the person that leaves salah, la, the scholars are even discussing, is this person a believer or not? Now, there's no need for us to enter this in terms of this academic discussion. We can leave that to the ulama. But it shows us the importance of salah. And I liked an answer, one of the ulama, one of the mashayikh, he was asked, what is the ruling of the person that leaves the prayer? And he said the ruling of the person that leaves the prayer is that you take him to the prayer. And that's a good Tarbawi answer in terms of the ruling of the someone that leaves the prayer, is that the ruling is that you take him to the prayer. That's the ruling. Now, وَيْلٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ لِلْمُكَذِّبِينَ. Woe on that day to the deniers. This is the second last verse. And again, like we said, this وَيْلٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ لِلْمُكَذِّبِينَ is repeated in this verse. And every single station, وَيْلٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ لِلْمُكَذِّبِينَ. How are you going to deny after all these evidences? How are you going to deny after you've heard what's going to happen to you in Jahannam? How are you going to deny? Woe on that day to you when you've heard about the blessings of Jannah, you're not going to get there. Woe on that day to you when you were told to do this and you didn't do it. Told to bow down for Allah and you didn't. وَيْلٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ لِلْمُكَذِّبِينَ. And then Allah Jalla wa Ala, He says, as the last ayah in the surah, فَبِأَيِّ حَدِيثٍ بَعْدَهُ يُؤْمِنُونَ. So what message after this Quran would they believe in? Yani, how many evidences are you going to have? And after all of this, you're still going to deny. فَبِأَيِّ حَدِيثٍ بَعْدَهُ يُؤْمِنُونَ. So what message after this Quran are you going to believe in? What else do you want? What else do you want? Meaning, what's going to affect them then? If this Quran is not going to affect them, what's going to affect them? If they don't believe in the Quran and follow it, then what is it that they're going to believe and follow? What on earth are they going to believe and follow? If a person rejects light, what is it that they're embracing? They're embracing darkness. They're embracing darkness. If a person is rejecting truth, what is it that they're upon? They're upon falsehood. They're upon falsehood. So what is it that they're going to be believing in? Falsehood and darkness. Whereas if they accept this, this thing, if they accept the Quran, then we're going to be accepting the lights. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Jalla wa Ala to make us amongst those who are in dhilal wa uyun, upon the cool shade and having the springs. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to teach us the Quran and make us amongst people who travel upon this light. وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وبارك الله فيكم أجمعين. This brings us towards the end of our exploring of Surah Mursalaat. If there's any questions, we can take any questions. Otherwise, we can end for today. Discord. خير إن شاء الله. إذن we'll end it then إن شاء الله. بارك الله فيكم. جزاكم الله خيرا.